The dung beetle navigates by the Milky Way. That is a real, peer-reviewed, experimentally confirmed fact. It is the only insect on Earth known to orient itself using the band of light from our own galaxy, which is a sentence I cannot believe I get to say on a channel about poop logistics. But here's the thing. The navigation is remarkable. What the beetle does after it gets where it is going is what holds your food system together. There are over 6,000 species of dung beetle, and they occupy every continent except Antarctica, which, to be fair, does not have a lot of dung to work with. They come in 3 operational styles. Rollers shape dung into a ball and roll it away, which looks exactly as ridiculous as you're imagining. Tunnelers bury dung directly beneath the pile, and dwellers just move in. They live inside the dung that is their apartment. Scarabaeus sacer, the sacred scarab, is a roller. It sculpts a sphere of dung, sometimes 250 times its own body weight, climbs on top of it, checks its orientation against the Milky Way, I told you, and rolls the ball to a burial site it has already selected. The ancient Egyptians watched this and concluded the beetle was pushing the sun across the sky. And our visuals department has apparently depicted a turtle. Scarabs have smooth wing covers and 6 legs, not a checkered shell. The Egyptians carved them thousands of times. They knew the difference. They built temples. They carved amulets. They were not entirely wrong about the importance. They just had the scale backwards. What dung beetles do at scale is the thing that makes pastureland work. A cow produces roughly 12 dung pats per day. In a herd of 1,000, that is 12,000 pats sitting on top of the grass, smothering it, breeding flies, leaching pathogens into waterways, and doing nothing useful. Dung beetles bury it. They shred the dung, mix it into the soil, aerate the ground in the process, and release nitrogen and phosphorus directly into the root zone where plants can use it. One study in the UK calculated that dung beetles provide 367 million pounds per year in ecosystem services to the British cattle industry alone, per year to one country. For one livestock species, what dung beetles provide is what ecologists call a supporting service. That is one of 4 categories of ecosystem services. Supporting services are the foundational processes that make every other category possible. Nutrient cycling, soil formation, primary production, habitat provision. If provisioning services are what the ecosystem hands you, and regulating services are the background maintenance, supporting services are the reason the building is standing in the first place. No supporting services, no building. And dung beetles are running one of the largest nutrient recycling operations on Earth. Herbivore eats grass, herbivore produces dung, beetle buries dung, nitrogen and phosphorus return to soil. Grass grows back. That is the loop. That is the supporting service. Without the beetle, the loop breaks and the pasture starts dying from the top down. They also suppress parasite larvae and pathogenic bacteria by burying the dung before those organisms can complete their life cycles. That is a regulating service layered on top of the supporting 1-2 jobs, one beetle, no paycheck. We know exactly what happens when the beetles disappear because Australia ran the experiment by accident. In 1788, European settlers brought cattle. Cattle produce soft, wet dung pats. Australia's native dung beetles had evolved alongside marsupials, whose dung is dry and pellet-shaped. The native beetles could not process cow dung for nearly 200 years. Billions of dung pats accumulated on Australian pastureland, unburied. Fly populations exploded. The bush fly became a national symbol of misery. Grazing land degraded, nutrient cycling stalled. The Australian government eventually launched the Australian Dung Beetle Project in 1965, importing and releasing 23 species of African and European dung beetles over 2 decades. It worked, the flies declined, the pastures recovered, the soil improved. It is one of the most successful biocontrol programs in agricultural history, and it happened because one functional group of insects was missing from the system. The current threat is quieter and harder to fix. Ivermectin, a widely used veterinary antiparasitic, passes through cattle and into their dung essentially intact. It kills dung beetles. The pharmaceutical product designed to protect livestock health is destroying the organism that makes livestock pastures function. This is not a hypothetical conflict. It is documented, ongoing, and the subject of active regulatory debate in the EU, the UK, and Australia. The beetle that recycles your food system's waste is being poisoned by your food system's medicine cabinet. I think the dung beetle is the most honest test of whether we actually understand how our own infrastructure works. Not bridges, not power grids. The biological infrastructure, the stuff underneath the stuff. A beetle rolls a ball of dung across a field using the Milky Way as a compass, buries it, and in doing so keeps the soil alive, the water clean, the parasites in check, and the grass growing. If that is not infrastructure, I do not know what the word means. Thanks for watching this one. If you want more episodes about the species holding your civilization together, and some of them are genuinely weirder than this, subscribe. I will see you in the next one.